Venice in the 1500s stood as one of the most powerful and wealthy cities in the world. Built upon more than 100 islands in a shallow lagoon, it was home to nearly 170,000 people. This was a city shaped entirely by water, where canals replaced streets and gondolas served as carriages. In this video, I use modern AI tools to recreate historic artworks and architectural records, allowing us to explore Renaissance Venice from new perspectives, moving through scenes exactly as they appeared 5 centuries ago. Let's begin with the Rialto Bridge, the commercial heart of Venice. For most of the 1500s, the Rialto crossing was served by a wooden drawbridge, replaced only near the century's end with the stone arch we recognize today. The Rialto district buzzed with activity. Merchants from across Europe, Asia, and Africa traded spices, silks, precious metals, and gemstones here. Bankers conducted transactions. Ship captains negotiated cargo. The air filled with dozens of languages as Venice served as the meeting point between East and West. Warehouses lined the canals, their lower floors open to the water for direct loading and unloading. Above them, offices and living quarters rose several stories. The bridge itself was more than infrastructure. It was a marketplace, a social space, a symbol of Venetian commerce and engineering. Standing here meant standing at the crossroads of the known world. The Grand Canal served as Venice's main thoroughfare, a sweeping S-shaped waterway cutting through the city's heart. Palaces belonging to Venice's wealthiest families lined both banks, their Gothic and early Renaissance facades reflected in the green water. These were not merely homes, but statements of power and taste. Each palazzo displayed the family's status through architecture, decoration, and position along the canal. Gondolas, barges, and trading vessels crowded the water throughout the day. Servants transported goods. Nobles traveled to government meetings. Visitors arrived from distant lands, their first impression of Venice formed by this grand procession of marble and water. The canal connected the city's 6 districts, or sestieri, making it essential for movement, trade, and communication across the lagoon. At the political and spiritual center stood Piazza San Marco, the only square in Venice actually called a piazza. All others were merely campi, or fields. The Basilica of San Marco dominated the eastern end, its Byzantine domes and golden mosaics proclaiming Venice's connection to Constantinople and the eastern Mediterranean. This was where the Doge, Venice's elected leader, participated in state ceremonies. Next to it rose the campanile, the bell tower serving as both timekeeper and watchtower, visible from across the lagoon. The Doge's palace stretched along the waterfront, its pink and white patterned facade housing the chambers where Venice's complex republican government conducted business. Here, the Great Council met, courts convened, and prisoners were held in cells beneath the ornate halls. The piazza itself functioned as marketplace, gathering space, and stage for Venice's public life. Let's move through the smaller canals, the narrow waterways that formed Venice's residential neighborhoods. Here, away from the grand palaces, ordinary Venetians lived in modest houses built directly over the water. Wooden platforms and stone steps provided access from doorways to boats below. Laundry hung between buildings. Children played on small bridges. The smell of cooking mixed with the ever-present scent of salt water and seaweed. These canals were quieter, but no less vital. They connected homes to churches, workshops to markets, and neighborhoods to each other. Navigation required intimate knowledge of the city's layout, as visitors easily became lost in the maze of similar-looking passages. Yet for residents, each turn and bridge held meaning, forming a mental map passed down through generations. The arsenal represented Venice's industrial might. This massive complex of shipyards, workshops, and warehouses employed thousands of workers who built and maintained the Venetian navy. In the 1500s, the arsenal pioneered assembly line techniques, constructing galleys with remarkable speed and efficiency. Walls and towers surrounded the facility, guarding Venice's shipbuilding secrets from foreign eyes. Inside, rope makers, sail makers, carpenters, and metalworkers labored in specialized workshops. Timber arrived from forests Venice controlled on the mainland. Copper and iron came from across the Mediterranean. The arsenal could produce a fully equipped warship in a single day when necessary, a feat that amazed and intimidated Venice's rivals. This industrial capacity underwrote Venice's control of trade routes and its ability to defend its maritime empire. Venice's wealth attracted artists from across Italy. In the 1500s, painters like Titian, Tintoretto, and Veronese worked here, creating masterpieces for churches, government buildings, and private patrons. The scuole, charitable confraternities that cared for the sick and poor, commissioned elaborate decorative programs for their meeting halls. These buildings combined social service with artistic patronage, their walls covered in narrative paintings and gilded ceilings. The Scuola Grande di San Rocco, decorated primarily by Tintoretto, exemplified this tradition. Visitors entering these spaces encountered overwhelming displays of color, drama, and religious storytelling. Art was not separate from daily life, but integrated into Venice's social fabric, visible in churches, government chambers, and even the exteriors of ordinary buildings. The Jewish Ghetto, established in 1516, occupied an island in the Cannaregio district. This was the first legally defined Jewish quarter in Europe, giving rise to the word ghetto itself, derived from the Venetian word for foundry. Jewish residents faced restrictions, gates locked at night. Certain professions were forbidden. Yet within these boundaries, a vibrant community developed. Synagogues rose in upper floors of buildings, concealed from outside view. Scholars, merchants, and craftspeople from across the Mediterranean lived side by side. The ghetto's tall buildings, some reaching 7 or 8 stories, resulted from population density within limited space. Despite constraints, Venice's Jewish community contributed significantly to the city's commercial and intellectual life. During Carnival season, Venice transformed. For weeks before Lent, residents wore elaborate masks and costumes, temporarily dissolving social hierarchies. Nobles and commoners mingled anonymously in the streets. Performances, gambling, and feasting filled the days and nights. The Piazza San Marco became a stage for acrobats, musicians, and theatrical spectacles. Masks allowed people to speak and act more freely than normal social rules permitted. This tradition reflected Venice's unique character, a city that valued both strict political order and periodic release from convention. Carnival was not merely entertainment, but a social mechanism, a way of managing tensions and celebrating Venice's distinct identity. Trade brought not just wealth, but also danger. In 1575, Venice suffered a devastating plague outbreak that killed nearly 50,000 people, roughly a third of the population. The sick were isolated on outlying islands. Doctors wore beaked masks filled with herbs, believing they offered protection. The city's government, experienced in managing public health due to Venice's role as a trading hub, imposed quarantines and organized care for the afflicted. The Church of Il Redentore was built as an offering of gratitude when the plague finally subsided. Its completion was marked by a festival that Venetians still celebrate today, crossing a temporary bridge of boats to reach the church. The plague reminded Venetians of their vulnerability, despite their wealth and power. The island of Murano, just north of Venice, specialized in glassmaking. Furnaces had been moved here in the 1200s to reduce fire risk in the main city. By the 1500s, Murano glass was renowned across Europe for its clarity, color, and craftsmanship. Artisans guarded their techniques jealously. The Venetian government forbade glassmakers from leaving the Republic, treating their knowledge as a state secret. Murano produced everything from simple drinking vessels to elaborate mirrors, chandeliers, and decorative objects. Nobles and wealthy merchants across Europe competed to acquire Venetian glass. This single industry employed hundreds of families, and contributed significantly to Venice's economy and prestige. Looking across the lagoon toward the mainland, we see the border between Venice's island realm and the territories it controlled on solid ground. The terra firma, as Venetians called the mainland, provided food, timber, and security. Towns like Padua, Verona, and Vicenza came under Venetian rule during the 1400s and 1500s, expanding the Republic's influence inland. This expansion brought Venice into conflict with other Italian powers and European empires. The lagoon itself served as Venice's greatest defense. Its shallow waters, constantly shifting channels, and hidden sandbanks made invasion nearly impossible for those unfamiliar with its navigation. Venetian pilots guided ships safely through routes invisible to outsiders. As the 1500s progressed, Venice faced growing challenges. New trade routes around Africa to Asia reduced the importance of Mediterranean commerce. The Ottoman Empire controlled territories that once belonged to Venice. Competition from Atlantic powers like Spain, Portugal, and later England shifted economic gravity westward. Yet Venice adapted. It invested in mainland territories. It continued producing luxury goods. Its publishing industry flourished. The city remained a center of diplomacy, where ambassadors from across Europe and beyond maintained embassies and exchanged information. Venice's political stability and sophisticated government impressed observers, even as its relative power declined. Standing here, looking back at Renaissance Venice, we see a city that was both exceptional and vulnerable. Built impossibly on water, it created a unique way of life. Its republican government, commercial networks, and artistic achievements influenced cities across Europe. Yet, it also faced constant threats from plague, fire, flooding, and rival powers. The Venice of the 1500s represents a moment of balance between medieval traditions and modern innovations, between East and West, between communal identity and individual ambition. Through these reconstructions, we glimpse that balance, that moment when Venice stood at its height. If there's another city, another period, or a specific historical moment you'd like to see recreated, please let me know in the comments. I'm excited to continue this journey through time with you. Thank you for watching.